Good evening, everybody. Fantastic to see you guys on top form in the chat. Cheese Me, Orinoco, some dude on YouTube. Darren, I saw earlier. Hello, mate. I think me and David are just going to sit here and be entertained by you tonight. We're going to have an easy night of it.
Yep, they can do the work for a change. They can do the work for a change.
Now then, I'm going to start with a public service. My YouTube console has got a big error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. On the flip side of that, my CPU usage is 25%, and I've got no drop frames in OBS. So
it's YouTube's end.
I apologise if the video quality is shit. But I'm not doing anything different to what I do every week. I've got all my assets down to the minimum to run the live stream. So, dunno, whatever. Anyway, thank you.
Internet being internet.
For after that public service announcement, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Thursday night, time for another little hobby live stream. So, for those of you who've never been here before and are catching us for the first time on YouTube, a brief rundown of what we're going to get up to for the next couple of hours. David and I
stop rummaging.
David and I will have a show you what we're going to be working on, because we do like to get some hobby done while we're hopefully entertaining you guys. Then we'll have a quick chat about what we did at our hobby club this week. And I'll try and get some pictures on the screen if I can. Just bear with me on that. And we will then just chat shit, interact with you guys in the chat, look at some news items, some YouTube that we've been browsing this week. Hello, Crispin. Welcome to the show. And
Crispin's here. Woo!
About 9 p.m. we'll tackle our main topic. So I've gone for the memes and the clicks. And as you've seen on the thumbnail, we got a picture of Dante. Just to reassure everybody, we are not going to be talking for
Dante.
We're not going to be talking for an hour about the new Dante model and Games Workshop's leak, and is it not a leak, and was it deliberate, but on the back of it, and some other news items, we'll be talking in more general terms about updating models. Because a lot of games, particularly when they're on the market for a significant amount of time, have to update model sculpts,
edition change,
etc. So we'll be talking in general terms more about that. Obviously, Dante's a good example, but we're not going to be labouring. We're not going to be flogging that horse for 60 minutes. I ain't got the stomach for that. So. Right, mate. Should I go first?
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Okay.
Because I'm still getting shit ready.
Content display. This is what I'm thinking of buying Sisters Zealots.
I suppose it might make sense for me to go back to chat.
Is that some STLs? Do you know what? It's an interesting question, Crispin.
Tim is observant.
What's that?
That's what I will. It sounds like David's sorting his paints out.
Yeah. I mean, that's what that clashing, banging noise is. Do you know what? That is a good one, Crispin. David, we will add it to the list. We probably won't get into the weeds with that tonight. But this whole...
Oh, what? Adult content?
Yeah, the old not safe for work thing on miniatures, sexual imagery.
Yeah, that I think is a good topic.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack, mate, frankly. It does come down to personal opinion, but
Tim is
yeah,
ripping
okay.
the shit out of your camera because the background is crisp, but the mini is soft.
Is that better, Tim?
Well, I don't know. I've got a delay.
Was looking at the first version of Heinrich Himmler from the 80s or the mid-90s. Heinrich Himmler? Is it? Oh, Heinrich Himmler.
Not Heinrich Hitler.
Well, obviously, I was thinking Himmler. What the fuck do they do in miniature? It's very good. See, Jerry, if he was here, would say there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, but that's because Jerry, bless him, has old eyes like yourself.
Say when. Say when. It's overexposed.
Where's my retarder?
Heinrich Kreml. Okay. Yeah, top-notch Jerry focus. Anyway, that's not the point, whether it's in focus or not. The point is...
Well, it does, because if the people want to see what you're fucking working on, it better be in focus. Do you not think?
Leave it. Thank you very much, Crispin. Skin tones is something I've really been focusing on with my Strigoi. I mean, it's been very much a speed paint project, but I've tried to put extra effort in creating some differentiation in the skin tones, and because they're vampires, I've had to go off-piste with a lot of my traditional skin recipes. But you know,
I didn't realise you were into skiing in the Alps.
I've never skied in my life, mate.
Well,
only by
the
seat. Only by the seat of my pants, and I do that most of the time. So that's what I'm going to be working on. Maybe getting some highlights on the purple and the vest, and putting some grey. The skin is basically done. I've got to paint the jewellery, so we're going to put some gold down. I want to highlight the skirt, get some better highlights on that. I'm just going to touch the belt and get some highlights on some of that, just to give it some more definition. But as I say, these are quick and dirty paint jobs, so we're not going to go bonkers. Right, so that's what I'm working on. What about you, mate? I can hear the airbrush going.
Yeah, I am tonight working on some Warcry scenery.
Okay. Camera go.
So we're gonna start base coating this bastard.
So this is from the most recent set, isn't it?
Yeah, this is from Blood Hunt.
That's it.
Oh, public service announcements for those that have Blood Hunt. There are cards in your terrain deck that require you to have more than one set of Blood Hunt, or some of the older sets, so that you can actually build fucking maps. GW, what the fuck are you doing?
Really?
And on that note,
I mean, you showed me one at club. Are they in the core terrain deck?
Yeah.
And you can't build them with just the terrain from Blood Hunt?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Well, when I say that's good, that's of course complete shit. But what the fuck? Okay, Crispin. Well,
Crispin's heading home.
That's fine, mate.
Asleep.
You know, real life does what real life does. So, you're just putting down some base coats on them tonight, mate. Attacking them with the airbrush.
Yes, and weirdly fucking Citadel paints. So we're going to see how long it is before I swear, because my airbrush is all gunked up. So enjoy, people at home. No, I'm saying, let's see how long it takes me.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, are you done?
I am done.
Let's go back to the main shot. Okay. So, well, actually, we've got an extra bonus thing to talk about tonight, because David and I did a bit of a painting session on Saturday night, didn't we, mate? Got together at mine.
Yes, we did.
And painted some Kings of War goblins. should we talk about that first?
Yeah,
So,
let's talk about that. Because Kings of War, Kings of War, Kings of War.
I don't know, Tim. I've played Warcry. I'm on record on the stream. I've played Warcry a bit. I think it's got potential in its campaign mode for being fun. I find as a pick up and play game,
It's way too swingy.
Scenarios are too fucking swingy one way or the other. You just flip your scenario cards, your terrain layout, your deployment, and your objectives, and you can almost that warband will win this, and it's like, what's the point? Now in the campaign mode, you can just say, yeah, let's just get stuck in anyway, have a bit of fun, and then do our upgrades and move on with the campaign. But as a pick up and play game, it's gonna leave a bad taste in it. You just set up and it's foregone conclusion. So
the main reason I like it,
it's a game,
pretty models, and can get 2 or 3 games in an evening.
That is true. Even the first time we played it, we comfortably got 2 full games in and a dissection of what went on in 3 hours. So it is very much a game that you can... Darren, as usual, look at this. He's cleaning up some metals this evening from several different manufacturers. Tell you what, Darren, I liked a couple of things on your Instagram feed. Whew. Very nice work, mate. For everybody who's not following Darren on Instagram, it's Demon Sub Minis, all one word. Am I right? Put in the chat.
I shall have
in the
to go
comments,
have a look, because
Darren.
I haven't seen Darren's minis.
To be fair, he's always posting shit, mate. He puts us to shame. He's always posting stuff.
Is he a doom scroller?
Well, I don't know, but he certainly gets the fucking work done. So if he's doom scrolling, it's not affecting his productivity. I'll give him that. So I need to...
Oh, I love a nice thick fucking GW paint to try and get through the airbrush.
So yes, basically on Saturday night, the club took advantage about, was it 6 months, a year ago?
No, it was a year ago. It was
a year ago.
The COVID lockdowns had ended and everything else in the UK.
Mantic did an offer. If you were a gaming club, for 150 quid, they would give you
I think we even mentioned it on stream.
We did. We've mentioned it before, but it's worth recapping. For 150 quid, I think it was, you got the Overdrive 2-player starter set, Dead Zone 3rd Edition 2-player starter set, Kings of War 2-player starter set, and the Armada 2-player starter set. I think that was it, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, it was.
And it was, Demon Sub Minis. It's in the comments for everybody who wants to go and follow Darren on Instagram for some beautiful miniatures. And yeah, obviously there was a little bit of a vetting process. You had to prove you're a club, send them your details, blah blah. But we took advantage of it. Armada's painted up and looks beautiful. David did all that single-handed. The
Overdrive's painted up.
Overdrive's done. We've got Dead Zone to tackle, but we're doing the Kings of War next. And we thought we'd make a go at the Goblins do it together. David got them all Zenithal primed, and we basically just attacked them with various contrast paint derivatives, didn't we, mate? I think we used a mixture of army...
You say contrast paint derivatives. I think they were now more contrast paint than, what's it called?
What? Speed?
Yeah.
Well, we only used... Did we use any speed in the end? I can't remember. Anyway. I got to play with...
That's not important.
I got to play with contrast paints for the first time. My issue with them is they're still too fucking expensive.
Yeah.
I thought... I watched... It coming up in the news as a video about it, but I did actually think about, they do have a nice range of colours, and I could expand into it, but they're so expensive for what they are. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I like them because they're in our local boys. So it does mean that when I run out, I can go buy one.
Yeah, they're easy access.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, we did a fair job, didn't we? What did we have?
45
miniatures?
44 minis, something like that.
And
we got all of the skins base coated.
Yep.
We got all of the trousers base coated. Some red detail base coated. And the leather boots and handguards, didn't we?
Yep, the trolls we did in a sort of grey colour scheme, didn't we? They were pretty much done. I think the trolls. Probably just metallics to do on them. And maybe some leathers. But yeah, it was good. Good sesh. Again, we did have this conversation. I'm not sure how speedy these speed paint products are. Because
you have to be quite careful.
You do. You know, it's one of them things, because you've got this issue that as the paints are transparent, if you paint outside the lines and get paint where you don't want it, you can't cover it easily. So you end up in a case where if you either paint at a ridiculously slow pace, or if you make mistakes, you got to go back and recover with your base coat stroke primer.
I will counter with work light to dark.
Oh yeah, I mean you can mitigate with your workflow, but again that can get tricky because you're not painting inside out like you would do with a traditional painting method. You are effectively painting harder to reach areas, so you're more likely, I would push back with, you're more likely to make mistakes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, as I say, I don't know as they are a particularly
speedier product.
No, I think if you're an experienced painter, slapping down base coats, wash, and a highlight if you feel like it, particularly if you're dry brushing, I think you can probably do it as quick. If I'm honest, even as somebody who is a bit of a fan of the product, as I say, I'm not so sure that the.
Darren makes a good point though. They certainly teach you fucking brush control.
That is a very good point, Darren. Because but again, the flip side of it is you're always reaching for a smaller brush than perhaps you would do if you were using a standard product.
I mean, again, for you, the fluidity of contrast was more of an issue, wasn't it?
It was I think, but it comes down to
personal preference.
No, it comes down to muscle memory, mate. So one of the issues I had with using the contrast paints is because I've trained my body to use speed paint, the increased fluidity, the sort of lack of control, the increased way they capillarize and flow where they want, I find it made it harder for me to use them.
Yeah.
But all of that is familiarity. I'm sure if I had half a dozen contrast paints and used them...
Yes, they do, Ocarino. They're like washes and every other liquidy product. Don't go fucking near them with your sables.
Yes. Yeah, definitely a cheap, crappy brush job. Because they will wick up into the ferrule regardless of what you do. You're not going to stop that.
That's why male paints are better at shaking. Why male painters are better at shaking paints than females. Fucking hell, Tim.
This is another reason why I was not so impressed. One of the colours we picked, the green for the goblin skin.
Hang on. Do you want to see how bad it is?
Do you want to go to your cam?
Yeah, let me just unlock my phone because I've just also broken my fucking phone stand by trying to be eager and grab stuff. Yeah, go to my cam.
Yeah. David's chink. That's the one.
This is a really nice green. Really, really nice. Oh, wait a minute.
Is that just where it's been laying on its side in the box?
Yep.
Fuck's sake. Basically, I struggled to get that to mix. I stirred it with a wire in the end because it just wasn't mixing. It doesn't have an agitator in it. And literally 3 days later, it's back to completely separated. And I bet you David could shake that for the next hour and a half and the fucking thing will still look like that.
We'll give it a vigorous shake on cam, so people can see. And it's done fuck all.
Yeah.
And it's got 2 glass agitators in it.
You put agitators in it and it's still doing nothing. This for me is a massive turn
and
off.
then you compare that to not Griff Charger Grey. Where is it? Arkelian Green? Beautiful colour, doesn't separate, doesn't do anything.
Is that one of the second generation ones?
No, this is first gen.
Okay. Because
this is second gen.
Okay. And enough said.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. More on that later.
It must be. Obviously they've had to. I mean, to be fair, they've obviously added titanium dioxide or whatever to that to increase the opacity. But even though they have, that's a really transparent paint, isn't it?
Yes, it's extremely transparent.
It's
right. Should we come away from my camera?
Yeah,
so I can
have done,
fix
boy.
My display?
So yeah, we did that Saturday. I was not blown away by contrast. If I'm honest, I liked the Flesh Tearers red. That was quite good.
Ridiculously intense.
Really strong colour. Yeah. But
fixed.
As I say, it's just, and again, they're a premium price, but I don't see that they're a premium product particularly. They still come with their own issues.
Well,
they have different issues, but they still have issues.
Massive separation and everything else. I've managed to fall out of sync with the live. Let's resync that fucker.
So, yeah. So, Monday night then, mate. Do you want to go first? As we've already started.
Can you go first a minute? Because I'm just sorting something out.
Okay, I will do. So, let me see if I can actually get this to come up. I actually went... Can I do... Let me do this. Boom.
Pause. That's what I want.
So here's some photos that were posted on our club Facebook group. I played another game of Malifaux, 3rd edition. Yeah, I mean, that's the other issue, Darren, that there is that inconsistency of performance with contrast, which, with the exception of 2 colours from 24, 22 out of the 24 speed paints behave identically.
As intended.
They self-shade beautifully, great coverage, perfect pigment balance. They're not too strong, they're not too weak, they're usable as they are. The Hive Dweller purple is too dark, and the Plasmatic Bolt is a little bit thin. Is my only two complaints about the speed paint range. Obviously 2.0, don't know, not touched them yet, because I'm not one of the lofty few. So I played another game of Malifaux 3rd Edition. Again, I ran out my 10 Thunders Asami crew against Trevor's. He was playing the Explorers, and he was playing Leviticus as his master. We had Trevor's just sort of deciding which master to go with. So there were tons of proxies. These Warcry miniatures, or what the hell they are, Underworld's miniatures, were all proxying for Malifaux stuff. But it was a good game, really good game. We went 4 turns, and I managed to win 3 points to 2. Very low scoring game, because we had I don't like it really, we had the main strategy thing where you had to move the strategy tokens, you had to push them into your opponent's table half. It's like playing shove halfpenny with miniatures, and it's a really clunky sort of like scoring mode, and also I was outnumbered 10-6, so I was really on the back foot against Trevor's numbers, which made it a bit of a challenge, but I was pleased to win. Basically, unlike a lot of my Malifaux games, I didn't focus on trying to kill everything. I just focused on trying to score the objectives, and that's what got me into a position, because actually I was thinking about it, I would have actually scored one of my end of game secondaries, so I would have been 4-2 as well. But it didn't matter. Ultimately, we got to turn 4, and I had it at that point. So, but yeah,
Called
great
it.
Game. Sorry, mate. What did you say?
Called it.
What?
As in called the game.
But you reckoned I would win, did you?
No, as in called it early.
Oh yeah. It's no. Well, it is Japanese, so wasabi's not a million miles off. But no, it's Asami, Asami, and that's the name of the master. She's
almost like ASMR, but
yeah, sort of. So yes, I having played my Asami crew 3 or 4 times now, I know what I need to do in terms of my Malifaux collection. What I need to do now, the way Asami works is she's a summoner, so she's got the ability to summon any of the Malifaux models that have the Oni keyword, Japanese demons, ONI, but her ability to get her chance to get that off is very much reliant on having a card with enough value on it to pass the test to bring it into play. And because obviously you can filter your hand to some degree, but because you can't necessarily know that in your hand of cards you're going to have a 12 or a 13, which would be equivalent to a queen or a king in a standard deck of cards, because you can't guarantee that you're going to have those cards to play, say, like one of my big spider demons here, the Joragumo. the thing I need to do is expand my collection by just buying up all of the Oni models that have that have all of the points values I'm missing. So like there's an Oni with a value of 4 points, which means I only need to have like a what do I need? I need 6 plus it's so I would only need a 10 in my hand to cast it. And I don't currently. I have 6, 8, and 9. So I've got no 4s, no 5s, no 7s, and because I'm missing these values, there are these dead turns where I can't actually use her ability to increase my board state. So I need to buy some more models to fill those gaps, and I think it's good because I've got nothing unpainted for Malifaux. It's one of my star games where I've managed to clear the decks and paint everything. I want to, now I've got an idea of what to get, I'm probably going to be purchasing some later this year and getting some more demon models to expand it, because obviously you don't have to put, the other thing is you don't have to put any of these models in your core list. You can just put some useful tools or some expensive demons you don't want to be summoning. Then
in your core,
I've got this collection of demons, and I can summon the tools that I need. So if I need something with movement 7, like a Tengu, I can just like boom, there you go, high movement model summoned. So that's definitely the plan for me with Malifaux. So what about you, mate?
I got up to showing Ricky Warcry. So played with my prime set of minis, the Eskurgan Trueblades versus the Hounds of Karanak, Claws of Karanak, whatever they are. The 2 new starters. Got 2 games in.
There's a picture from our club.
Ricky quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Because it was Ricky's first game, basically, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ricky's first ever game of Warcry. All in all, went okay. I won both games. The first game was a landslide one way, but then the second game was actually really tight because one of the objectives was basically to sit in a tree and be above the ground and capture the points. That was it. Basically, if you were on a platform in a tree, you were scoring points, so long as there weren't enemy models in the tree. So basically, we both became tree huggers. And it was hilarious. Because we were both trying to push each other out of the trees constantly. The second game. So
trying to dislodge each other's models from scoring.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you said Ricky expressed an interest in getting some models for it.
Ricky has expressed an interest in getting some models, so I've suggested to him a narrative campaign with his AOS minis. And then should he like it and enjoy it, we will look at what he's going to buy miniature-wise. Because thing is, all of the Warcry custom stuff is beautiful, and they are releasing it in boxes when they roll the next set round. So if he likes the vampires, he can buy them next time they bring shit out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
If he likes something else that's already out there, happy days. He can just keep his powder dry and decide after what he's doing.
That makes sense, because he has AOS minis. It makes sense that he sort of really does the try before he buys sort of thing. Before leaping him.
Not knocking Ricky, but look at Infinity, something that he thought, I'll be into this, and was going to plug minis, played a few games, and then was like, actually, no,
yeah.
I'm out.
And that can be a thing. A game system can sound like it's perfect for you, but doesn't necessarily mean it is always.
No.
So, yeah, awesome job.
So tonight I'm painting bamboos.
Age of Sail, I take it that's a historical
Teaching someone a GW game should be illegal. Teach them a good game.
What? When you say need more terrain, we need more terrain, Darren. Or the Warcry needs more terrain, or what? Because, I mean, David's... Obviously, Warcry terrain layouts are fixed by the cards.
Yeah.
To be fair...
Yes, I am in agreement. More terrain would be better. But when the cards state X, you do X.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily going to say that we've got the best terrain for Malifaux. I personally like sort of a more urban, crowded look for Malifaux. Having said that, when you have a lot of terrain, some of the strategies become very difficult. Like that one where you've got to push these tokens around. If there's a lot of terrain in the way, you can't push the tokens across the board very cleanly.
I'm like you, Darren. Like, our Frostgrave tables are usually dense as fuck. It's just because you have a card with a deployment map on it that uses the terrain out of the set, so therefore you can't really throw the kitchen sink at the table.
Yeah, Warcry is very weird because obviously the terrain setups are all specified. By
And can
the
change
cards.
on the flip of a card.
In that respect, it's got aspects of board game versus a classic miniatures game where you do what you want with your terrain.
Well, again, it's kind of got that Underworld regard of pick your board, do you know what I mean? Except it's dictated by the card this time.
Sure.
Rather than you picking the board. And I don't know about you, but I'm finding that some of the GW box products as of late are very good. The box games are very good. I mean, you could technically use other terrain in Warcry, but because those cards are a very specific part of the game in how to deploy and how to set up for the victory conditions and everything else, and like the scenarios, like I said, the scenario that me and Ricky were playing the second game was basically the floor is lava, don't touch the floor, stay 2 inches off the floor and you're scoring points. It's like, okay. And obviously the terrain is designed such that that's allowable and acceptable. So,
to be fair, there are lots of... The problem is, it's like David says, if you take the terrain cards away, a lot of the deployment stuff doesn't really work. And there are whole sections of the game, like you split your team up into 3 sections.
hammers, shields, and daggers.
And like it's a whole thing. There's so much of the game is enmeshed in
the cards and shenanigans bollocks.
It's if you throw it out, it starts to make the rest of it a bit awkward. Which is why, as I said a minute ago, there is a thing. Warcry, I would describe as a tactical board game. I don't. It's a tactical board game with miniatures.
The miniatures are fucking beautiful. The terrain is fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
But it is literally a board game.
Yeah. It isn't. It isn't what you would call a classic miniatures game.
Not like Frostgrave.
No. But I mean, again, to be fair, Games Workshop aren't any good at that sort of product. I mean, it's like Tim says, it should be illegal to show people Games Workshop games. You know, that's not exactly hyperbole. If you really want to put people off the fucking hobby, showing them a Games Workshop full-blooded miniatures game is pretty much guaranteed to do that. Because...
Shall we... because you've been waffling.
Yep.
It's 20 to 9.
Oh my
News
God.
o'clock.
Let me just do this. Get this highlight reasonably straight. That'll do.
I mean, again, Darren, I'm pretty deep in the agnostic. It's just I played a couple of games of Warcry with Jack and one of the other lads at club, and enjoyed it. And this new set came out, and I was like, I'm going to buy that because I actually really like the look of the miniatures. And whilst I'm not a huge fan of this terrain, out of all of the like Heart of Gur series that they've done, this is the best terrain. Because it's got all these fortifications and everything else with it.
Right, I'm going to call that done. Right, let's talk about some news. So, here we go. First up, we've got a YouTube video. Have you watched this, mate? Trapped Under Plastic. This is Miniac and Ninjon's
No, I haven't.
sort of live stream, although it's not live. It's like a pre-recorded magazine-style show where they have news and they have a main topic. The main topic in this one was why aren't there more big war games? And essentially, like, David asked me, have you watched this? And I hadn't watched it at the time. And it's like I said to him, the reason I haven't watched it is I think I pretty much know the answer. There aren't large-scale miniature war games are such a fucking difficult thing to develop and then to sell. You know, because you require massive commitment from your customer base. You can see why they're dying in favour of small-scale games with like 15, 20 miniatures. It's one of them things where I saw it and I thought, well, the answer's obvious. But to be fair to Miniac and Ninjon, they give it a they do a fairly good job. They focus mainly on the cost to the developer in terms of resources, the amount of stuff that you've got to develop in terms of models and rules and art and fucking lore and backstory and the whole thing that brings your world alive. They didn't really cover so much why it's problematic for the gamer, you know, having to collect and paint 200 miniatures versus 15. Do you know what I mean? But it's a good video. I do like Trapped Under Plastic. Generally, their podcast's well worth a watch. And unlike myself, who's got a bit lazy, they do put their chaptering in. So if you want to skip all the preamble and waffle and get straight to the meat of the topic, you can do that quite easily. No, Tim, when they say big, they mean as in quite a lot of models. They're talking about large scale as in the gaming experience, not large scale as in the customer base. That's my attitude, Tim. Chapters, fuck them. So that was one thing that I saw that was worth mentioning. This was a disappointing video, but I was glad to see it. A while ago, when Geek Gaming Scenics, what's his name? Luke, is it? Geek Gaming Scenics was paired up with the chap from Pickle Jar, whose name escapes me because I'm old. They did a video about playing smaller scale and off-scale war games, because I know that Luke's got a passion for 10mm, 15mm, basically playing in a small footprint. And he's done videos about creating like a gaming table in the back of a picture and stuff like this. And he featured this game. Now, it begins with an A. What the hell's it called?
Not entirely sure.
Argatoria. I don't know if that's correct, but it's essentially 10mm, I believe. Classic fantasy. And this company, Spellcrow, has released army boxes of like all the fantasy classics: lizard men, orcs, humans. And the reason I was glad to see this video was that Luke did this video like, we want to start doing more coverage on these weird games, these sort of I think he attended a convention that's designed for like off-scale miniatures, particularly historicals. I can't remember the name of the event, but then off the back of that, he said, right, we want to start doing some videos, and then there was nothing for ages, and then we had this, and the thing with me is I get tired of watching content creators reproduce the same old formula, and I get it. If a video where you take a sponsorship from a 3D printing modelling company, print a few of their models, build a diorama, and sell a load of, basically do what's a 15 to 20 minute rolling advert for their STLs and your basing products, I get it. But I get tired of that, and it frustrates me. I understand why they do it. If it's their living, this is not our living. We're playing at this. But it was so nice to see him deliver on something that he talked about. And I don't know if this video is going to do well for him. I don't know if it's, going to be worth his time. But fucking good on the bloke for doing it. He said he was going to do it. We've waited a while, but he got round to it. And for that, I applaud the man. I'm not sure that I'm going to look at the game. I mean, it looks fine, but it looks a bit vanilla. There is a shout out to some guys who do a playthrough video. I might look at the rules, because I bet it's clean and I bet it's quick. Unlike some of the bloated, chaotic games that we see. But I'm not really in the market for this sort of game. But I still wanted to mention it, because well done, Luke at Geek Gaming Scenics, for doing this. Another one, I don't think we mentioned this. I do Uncle Atom, Tabletop Minions. We all know him. We all love him. Does his videos every Friday. He did a great airbrush video. I know they're 10 a penny on YouTube. I liked his twist. Basically, what he did was, he said, these are 3 things that airbrushes are good for, and if you want to do a lot of it, get one. These are 2 things that your airbrush is shit at, and if you're thinking that you want an airbrush for this, you don't. And
don't fucking bother.
It was, I love the way that Uncle Atom does these. He's got great balance to his videos, his great sincerity. He's never, you never get the feeling he's trying to push some sort of agenda on you. They're just genuinely informative and really honest. And I like it. I like it a lot. Next, we've got, this is, we control David with this. Are you going to be back in this, mate?
What's this?
Triton Noir have got a new expansion coming for Assassin's Creed.
I'm unsure. I want to see some of the playthrough.
Oh, bloody hell. I wasn't expecting that, everybody. Ooh.
I'm really unsure, because unlike all of the other stuff in Wave 1, we've never seen assassins go to Cambodia.
No.
And therefore I am dubious.
I'll be honest. Yeah. This, you might know this little site, OnTableTop. just it's all right. I mean, it's one of these news roundup channels. They have some interesting videos. You know, I wouldn't get excited.
Lift ideas occasionally as well, don't they?
Apparently, yeah.
We love you, Jerry. We love
you. But I mean, they're showing off these beautiful pictures. You know, you've got your assassins dressed as wood elves falling out of trees. I will probably back the Kickstarter. Funnily enough, I was a bit like David. When the original Kickstarter was launched, they did a modern day Tokyo expansion, didn't they, mate?
Yes, I backed that one.
Yeah. So, and I was just like, no, I want the assassins in the Italian setting. I want that. I don't want anything else.
I want how I played my game and nothing more.
Yeah. But as I've played more Assassin's Creed, as I've painted the miniatures, I'm just like, actually, this core system's really good. And I would like to see how it plays in different scenarios and different genres. So, although we know very little at the moment, they've just teased some artwork. The on Kickstarter, if you go to the Kickstarter platform, all that's up at the minute is the Notify Me page, where you can get an email or a notification saying when it goes live. But I've definitely got my eyes on it, because I think it'll be well worth a look at. And for those of us who missed out on the original Kickstarter, obviously in the Pledge Manager, there is 99.999% certainty you'll be able to order anything off the first Kickstarter that you missed.
So let me take a wild guess what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, Limburger, I have stopped playing the different franchise games. I played Black Flag, which was fine. It was okay. David, what's the next one? The French Revolution one.
Yeah.
That started to piss me off, because obviously you had to unlock all of your assassin's abilities, and it added an element of grind
to the game
to it, and it was just like but to be fair, that's more to do with the way that they've handled the core game engine and the core game structure. I don't really care. I mean, I could go for a classic Greek, Egyptian, Viking skin. I don't have any opposition to it. What I don't want to have to do is grind for 200 hours to gain experience points, to get weapons and unlock abilities like fucking, silent kills that should be part of my assassin's repertoire pretty much from the
start.
So
we're going to turn my compressor off because it's a little warm.
I know what you're saying, mate. Obviously, if it doesn't float your boat, it doesn't float your boat.
Again, Ubisoft have prior for ruining games. Look at fucking Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon or whatever it is.
Pass. As somebody who left digital gaming decades ago, I can't really comment.
Spiral.
It's like, I mean,
let's try and wash this out.
I love the old Hitman games, but I've seen recently, didn't they go to like episodes where you had to pay for it by installments?
Not a clue.
And it was like, it became a cash grab. And Dishonored, now that's Japanese, isn't it? Isn't it like Samurai? Am I right? Now that does appeal to me, but again, I'm out of digital gaming. I haven't got the money. I haven't got the time. I wish I did. Rabbids yet? Is that a spell check? Rabbit?
No,
error?
That's a dig at one of the Ubisoft games called Raving Rabbids, which is basically like fucking random ass fucking rabbits.
Oh, that sounds great. That game. This one, I missed this, but David shouted it. Apparently,
What's
there's a
this?
new supplement coming from Silver Bayonet. Having
Yes,
never
Ash
got it.
Barker fucking put it out because in the run up to Adepticon they've announced it, and he's like, "We might as well say about this because the cat's out of the bag." I immediately sent it to you, and you were like, "We need to play the original first."
Yes, I haven't even got the original. Inside the book, you'll find 2 campaigns, one competitive, one for solo cooperative. You see, I do like Joseph. He's really catering for all markets with his stuff. So it's what? Vampire-y? Carpathians? Is it like Haunted Castle Dracula? Sounds quite cool.
It's in Canada, isn't it?
I don't fucking know, mate.
It's got fucking. Oh no, there's 2 books. There's Carpathians, and then there's the Canada one.
Oh, he's already done one, has he?
No, there's 2 coming.
Oh, is there?
The one with Ash on had Canada across the front.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that. But anyway, I just went to my friendly OnTableTop platform and looked at their news article.
Who are they? Who are
now
they?
then, apparently, it's a thing to go to visit paint factories, isn't it, mate?
It has been this week. We've had fucking Goobertown Hobbies do it and visit the Army Painter one.
Yep.
And then we've also had Dave visit
from MS Paints.
Visit the Twin Atlantic Games one.
Now
for Duncan Rhodes Kickstarter paints.
Now
the difference is a night and day.
Yeah, I suppose so. You talk about these because, to be honest, I watched both these videos. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't really give a shit. Maybe that's just me.
The Goober one I sort of speed watched.
Okay.
After I'd watched the Dave one. Dave's video where obviously he's discussing what goes into it and the fact that obviously Duncan has tested all of the carrier, etc. before they even added pigments. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's good content for those that are interested in the science and that kind of thing. What really got me about this video from Dave on Duncan, it's 6 lads in a fucking warehouse packing all of Duncan's paints for Asmodee and everyone else that they're distributing to. And they bottle them in the warehouse. Some of the bottling machines are like 30, 40 years old. And the best thing is the lad made a bottle turner where he just dumps the box of bottles in and made it out of some fucking plywood, some MDF, and some treadmill motors, and it turns the bottles all the right way up. They go under a thing that drops the agitator in. They do that. They've made tooling to put the lids on because they got fucking RSI doing the lids the first time. And it's just British ingenuity. And then also at the very end of the video, if you watched it all the way through, there is a real dig at British wargamers.
Yeah, that is quite funny. I mean, to be fair, Dave's video is the more entertaining of the two. But Dave's a fantastic videographer, great storyteller. He loves his asides and his in-jokes. He's got health and safety frog with him. He's like pocketing stuff from the rack and, sort of obviously on camera just for chuckles. To be fair, the other thing that's apparent, this is why this paint is the most expensive mil for mil on the market, because it's made in a massively labour-intensive way on archaic equipment. It must, you compare that to the mass production. They've got like a 24-hour facility that's running round the clock with filling lines and packing lines. That this is where economies of scale. This is how the most interesting aspect to these videos is it teaches you what makes a product cheap and what makes it expensive, and it's not always quality. Manufacturing systems and that sort of thing are huge in terms of generating economies. This was really interesting, this video. I have never watched anything by War Hipster before. I don't know if any of you guys
I've
know
never
him.
even heard of War Hipster,
I
so this is
haven't.
news to me.
I mean, the channel name's fucking terrible. Why you would want to basically use the word hipster in our fucking obviously not hipster circle? Fucking is, unless he's being ironic, which is possible. But that aside, the video is superb. He does what a lot of other people have done. He takes models and he uses speed paint, express colour and citadel contrast to try and reproduce a similar paint job across 3 marine models. But it's by far and away the most in-depth, well thought out, coherent critique of the products and the process. It's 40 minutes, so it's not an insignificant watch, but it's a good video. He comes
I'll
down.
have to give that a watch after.
He comes down on the side of contrast paint. I don't, that's fine. I'm not saying contrast paint are necessarily bad products. I just think they're overpriced. He thinks that express colour is the next best, but this picture shows why, for me, express colour might be an interesting addition to my range, but they're not paints I'm going to use a lot. If you look at these 3 miniatures, so that's, I don't know, I think that's Leviathan purple contrast. That's the new purple from the Speed Paint 2.0, which is way lighter than Hive Dweller. And this is the Vallejo Express one. That is way too pastel for me. And a lot of these videos that I've seen using express colour, the product seems to be very under-pigmented compared to its other fellows in the marketplace. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't have a place for this lilac colour, but I'd much rather have one of these stronger, darker purples.
Again, if you get... It depends on your painting style a lot as well, because for me, the pastel's nice, but then you're going to want a different colour to wash it with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's got to come out really fucking well on the fact that it's a contrast.
Plus, he did say, because these products have very low pigment and they have a very long drying time, he struggled to get... I mean, he admitted you want to be pretty expert to get smooth colour without blotchiness on very flat, featureless surfaces. Which again, we've already talked about whether speed paints are a quick fix or whether they're actually long-winded. And I just think these are probably more long-winded. The other brilliant thing about this video is that he has a method for painting black where he uses a black contrast over an undershade, either blue, green, or grey. These are black contrast or their in-brand equivalent over a blue contrast or their in-brand equivalent. And that is genius. And I am definitely going to be stealing that idea and trying it on some miniatures because the effects look amazing. And it gives you... It fills out the colour space on the black to make it look more black and less grey. So it looks like a black tone instead of just being dark grey, which a lot of black speed paint, stroke contrast paint, stroke whatever do. So great video. You guys will have to let me know if War Hipster's channel is worth more content, but this video is definitely worth a watch. I'm not sure about the rest of his stuff yet. This was
see
yours.
Did you see Ocarino's comment? Has Paul de-aged? I think that was a dig at a war hipster.
Orinoco, what's that? Has Paul
Orinoco.
You reckon that was me 20 years ago? My hair was never that black, mate. I mean, Jesus, it's going grey now, but no. But yeah, the Frizzy Mad Scientist looks rather cool. It just seems an odd channel name. So, mate, tell us all about this one.
What's this one?
This one is the one that you asked me to pull up. Free sci-fi terrain posters from Saucermen Studios.
So, Saucermen Studios have done a set of posters that you can print out on your poster paper, your conventional inkjet paper, and then they have now done a little tutorial for including them in your terrain sets, which I think is fucking genius and showing guys how to do it. It's the fucking content of the posters that they've put out for free is fucking amazing. I downloaded them all. I haven't got round to adding them to a terrain set, but they've got sci-fi, they've got dystopian, they've got what else have they got? Like a Necromunda themed set.
Okay.
They've got all sorts. So when I get round to doing my Flatline City table, I'm going to be plastering fucking posters all over the fucker.
And they've got tons of varieties of themes.
Yes.
Okay, that's worth checking out. Is that just on their, what's that, Saucermen Studios?
On their saucermenstudios.au, I think it is, because they're Australian.
There is a link in the description there, saucermenstudios.com.au/free sci-fi or free AI Oh, they're AI generated.
I didn't realise they were AI generated.
Oh, that's a cool idea. So presumably they've used one of these AI to art tools and just got it to spew out a ton of images
Posters.
And harvested them for this. That is the work of genius. Like it. That's really good, mate. And the last piece of news is this one. And again, I know nothing about this, mate. So what's this? Wasteland War Machines by Atlas.
So for those that are into their 3D printing and those that are into Gaslands, we have another Gaslands Kickstarter coming.
Oh, that's what this is for.
Yes.
Got you.
So
now I understand.
Awesome, and depending on what the price is, I will more than likely be backing the fucker.
And this is just STLs, or don't we know till it launches?
I don't fully know till it launches, but probably just STLs.
Okay. But yeah, I get it now, because I see obviously there's a motorbike in there. I saw them, they look like a mech at the back, and I was thinking, what was this to do with mechs? But I get it, you're thinking vehicles for Gaslands.
Yes.
Interesting. They do look fucking pucker. Look at this like camper van thing on with fucking shit tons of armor. Fucking school bus fitted with a tank turret and massive bull bars.
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
It does look cool. Right, nice. Good job, mate. Good job.
A little bit late to the main topic, 9:10, but let's cut our teeth.
Right, so let's crack straight into it. So, obviously, everybody's seen it. This week, Games Workshop managed to send out a new version of the Dante Blood Angels model to a customer by in error, because I presume he'd ordered the Finecast old one.
No, you misspelt Shitecast.
Well, whatever. And it's a lot of people are excited. And to be fair, I was Googling. I think the original Dante miniature. This is, if anyone can prove me wrong, please put it in the comments. Or if somebody knows way better than me, I Googled it. and I found a guy who'd catalogued all of the miniature releases going back to like the early GW product catalogues. According to his list, Dante, the current sculpt, was originally released in metal is 1996. That's 26 or 7 years ago.
Yeah,
and
I was
obviously
gonna say, try nearly 30.
now it is available in fine cast, presumably using the same mold, but it is essentially the same model.
Yeah.
Come on, 26 years to update a model. I don't think we can say that that's excessive. The new model looks beautiful. It's going to be in hard plastic. I have no doubt.
Look at it this way. It's lasted longer
Yeah.
than most other things on the GW stock shelf.
No doubt it will be fucking overpriced, but it is a beautiful model.
Counterpoint, how many editions has Dante been around?
Well,
In his
somebody's
current form.
second edition Blood Angels Codex he was first appeared in, apparently.
Yeah, but I'm saying, since
So
that one in
Orinoco says.
96, do you know what I mean? Since that model in 96 that's not been updated, how many editions have we had?
Oh, 7. Or 8 if you include second, where he was first in. Soon to be 9. Some people on the internet, the biggest controversy, right, about this miniature appears to be that he's being upgraded to Primaris Dante. Okay?
Yes.
Which opens a massive can of worms with people saying, well, his armor's relic armor, so how can they Primaris that? Blah, blah, blah.
And again, Primarises don't have jump packs, but Dante is quite clearly seen wearing a motherfucking jump pack.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what to say.
Look at it this way, right? GW will do GW. If they want to fucking nuke and rewrite the law, they will nuke and rewrite the law. It's their fucking game. Let them do it.
Yeah.
But
this
I'm really unsure as to how this leak happened.
Oh, don't worry. Let's not get into that, because let's not even get into that. People have been online fucking theorizing all sorts of bullshit, but let's not get into it because that's not what we're here to talk about. One thing that I thought about, we mentioned last week that One Page Rules had pulled all of their old Sisters of Battle models. What were they called, mate? Battle Sisters or
Battle
whatever?
Sisters, and they're now something else. Blessed Sisters or something.
Yeah, so One Page Rules pulled an entire range of STLs end of last year and basically said we're going to update these because these models look old and tired. They don't fit our current range. They're not
in our artistic direction.
We're not proud of them anymore. They're all going to be reworked and released. And David flagged that for us last week. We showed some pictures of the new ones. They look fantastic. Those are the only 2 examples I can think of off the top of my head. But essentially...
Well, what? No.
Well,
Hang on a minute.
Come on, then.
Let me just put my brush down. So, when TT bought DZC, they obviously bought all the molds and everything with them. Now, obviously, molds, as we know from Forge World, get tired and stuff will go in and out of circulation while they go and rework the molds.
Yep.
TT went, that's fine. We'll offer what we can offer, and then we're going to rework the molds and get them going again. Get them up to scratch, get them up to par, because you want quality miniatures. And, for example, the Resistance hovercraft transport, the biggest one, I can't remember exactly what it's called off the top of my head, has been out of circulation for close to 2.5 years of they pulled it. All the stock that they got left was Hawk wargames stock, or the stock that they bastardized out of the first runs of the mold when they were assessing the quality of them. And for 2.5 years, it's been out of stock and everything else.
Okay.
They reworked it, and they've brought it back, and they just made a few design tweaks to the miniature to help with the molding process. That's all they've done. But it took 2.5 years for said miniature to come back, which is kind of a staple for that particular faction. However, flip side of the coin with DZC, since they've brought that out and since they've gone through and refreshed all these molds, they're also fucking adding miniatures, new sculpts, like it's going out of fashion. So there's now the Tatiana pattern condors, which are a new sculpt style. There's now new fucking behemoths, new loads of new stuff. So they're adding the new while they're also reworking some of the old. That was because they inherited product. You then have the flip side of the coin of new stuff or updated stuff being released to push sales. Dante being a prime example. With he's been in circulation for so long, everybody's a little bit sick and tired. And a lot of people that have a Blood Angels army don't like the Dante sculpt for whatever reason, so therefore fucking bastardize their own and do some cool hobby work. And that is one thing I will say about upgrading and updating miniatures, is the fact that when you update a miniature, it's the new and the shiny, and most people will go out and buy it. It actually stifles some of the creativity in the hobby space. Because again, look at my Vulcan that I did.
Yep.
I took a Tech Marines body and did all the conversion work with Dark Elf Corsair coats and everything else, and he looks just as good as the original. But he isn't made a shite cast, and he looks better because I fucking made him. Blood, sweat, and tears went into that mini.
Well, I did exactly the same thing with Kavan Shrike. My Kavan Shrike is part Stormcast Eternal, part the Blood Angel guys with the wings. I got the wings off them.
Sanguinary Guard.
Sanguinary Guard. So he's a whole hodgepodge of Stormcast, first gen Marine, and Blood Angel bits and all sorts of shit. And I'm really proud of him. I love him. I think he's great. And it's like you say, I didn't want the old Kavan Shrike model. I didn't particularly like it. It looked really clunky.
And wasn't there a new sculpt release within, fucking 6 months of you doing that?
Yeah, but I wasn't bitter because I was still pleased with what I'd made. No,
I know that point. I'm just saying, for those that doing conversion work is an absolute fucking nightmare, there may be feel bads.
Yeah, sure. If that's what you think. Do you
see my point?
Yeah. I mean, look. When a game is around for years and years and years, technology moves on, things change, and I don't think a company should be vilified just carte blanche for revisiting miniature sculpts and updating them. And you can update them in all sorts of ways. That's where it starts to get sticky. I mean, David cited a great example with TT Combat. They being aware of the technology, they knew that they could tweak the designs of some of those models to make them easier to mold, easier to cast, reduce their failure rate, increase their quality control, but keep the inherent spirit of the miniature, which obviously they felt hadn't aged or had certainly still fit within the design aesthetic of their game. Now, another example is Malifaux. Okay, so what happens in Malifaux is the narrative of the Malifaux world moves on, similar to the 40k universe. Okay, and Malifaux has killed some masters. Some masters are now dead in the lore. So that means that those masters are not playable, I believe, in the competitive game. You can only use current masters. The other thing that they've done is some of the masters have undergone personal development within the narrative of the world, and they've now started releasing alternate versions. So, like, my master Asami for 10 Thunders is now available as a completely different sculpt.
Well, again, it's like Infinity, isn't it? To a degree,
Yeah.
producing alternative and different sculpts for your faction so that you're fleshing it out. You're not forced to have the same thing. And again, some of these are limited editions that are available at the likes of Adepticon. Others are just here to stay. Do you know what I mean?
Malifaux is a very interesting game, Dan, in terms of the models alone. The eclectic mix of designs that inhabit that game mean you can find pretty much anything you like. And they're really dainty, beautifully put together models.
Well, again, you can go from fucking Mexican wrestlers to ballerinas.
Yeah.
And circus performers.
Via giant, horrific teddy bears and everything.
And a possessed little demon girl.
Guildboard, they do the same. Cheese me, yep. The Guildboard did the same, where different characters developed and were iterated on. And again, every company handles the process differently. But and the motivation for each company might be different. So with Malifaux, for example, I can still field either Asami. I've got 2 different models. I've got 2 different stat cards. The masters work in different ways. They've got different rules. I can build a list with either, field either. It's my choice. So with Malifaux, it was merely a case of, I assume, they wanted to refresh some old models, being the masters, who are like the feature of your list, the core of your list. They wanted to refresh the models and presumably explore some new design space with those miniatures. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, they also wove a narrative into that, but that wasn't necessary for the process. They were just being diligent.
No, but they used it as a justification, which is a good reason. It's not like this Dante upgrade to Primaris has come completely out of the blue. There's not really any reason for it that I can see right now.
Well, hang on. Whoa. Let's back this one up. So,
I'm not saying Dante didn't deserve it, but what I'm saying is that it's been done in a really shitty way. It's like, oh, look, this has dropped. Here's a new Dante for your army.
I disagree. The
lore and stuff relating to it behind it.
With one caveat, I disagree. They have released a new Dante model because that sculpt is nearly 30 years old and does not do justice to what Games Workshop can produce today for what is a massive character piece in a Blood Angels army.
Yes, but where is the lore to go with it?
Well, Dante has lore. The only question is this change to the Primaris version. Now, personally, I think the Primaris rabbit hole was a fucking bad idea from the kick. Basically, what they said was, we want Space Marines to be 1.5 times larger than all of the other human models in the game.
Yes.
To which I would have said, just make your Space Marines 1.5 times larger when you resculpt, and don't fucking worry about it.
And instead,
But
they
no,
introduced Primaris and all
exactly.
their additional rules, and then
Exactly. They disappeared up their own arse with all this Primaris bollocks. And, you know, fair enough, whatever. The problem is people are going to have an issue in that. When you've got a 1,500-year-old Marine that's got loads of backstory, every piece of equipment that he carries has got more history than modern civilization, and then you're going to say, oh, but now he's got a new form of Primaris armor and all of his equipment's changed, and it's like, why did you do that to yourself? Why could you not just say, this is the new Dante model?
and be done with it.
I mean, I deliberately used a Stormcast Eternal for Kavan because I wanted my Kavan Shrike to be bigger in terms of his model dimensions than all of my other Raven Guard, because I wanted him to be a visual spectacle. I didn't feel obliged to come up with a fucking reason. Oh yeah, he's done steroids since he was 7. I didn't feel obliged to explain that. I just wanted him to be more of a visual spectacle. And hey, he is, with his fucking great big wings. And this is what frustrates me a bit about GW, is they paint themselves into corners. I don't even understand how they get there. I mean, it's bad and... I mean, again, Dante has been redesigned, presumably because 10th edition release is going to be a split set, Blood Angels, Tyranids. Okay? So your 2-player starter for 10th edition later this year is these 2 armies. So it's obvious, well, we're going to have to revisit a lot of the old miniatures and update them for the new releases, because we're making them.
There's no way we're making 10th edition on fucking 30-year-old minis.
I mean, and just in case nobody's expecting it, expect new Gene Stealers. How old is the Gene Stealer model now? 25 years? It's, you know, they will be looking at all this stuff. And it just so happens there's been a bit of a balls up. Dante's been sent out into the public domain perhaps earlier than he should have done. Maybe it was deliberate because they want to keep the hype train rolling. But fine.
You can't have a fire without fuel.
Setting the drama of Games Workshop aside, I think that in the hobby, we have to expect that things will change when miniatures reach a certain age. They're going to be looked at.
Can I also make a point here?
Go for it.
TT Combat DZC. We'll come back to the elephant in the room. They have very publicly, since the release of Battle for Earth and basically what is 2nd edition with all the reskin and everything else, have very publicly said, what you build in the army builder is being recorded, and if there are minis that are not being taken, we will update rules to make them viable. So TT's approach to this versus other manufacturers is, if a unit is unviable, we will tweak its rules and let people take it because they believe in the minis themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how they are and how they're represented on the table. What do GW do when something's not really being taken anymore? Quick! Do the rules rewrites. Let's make people do them. So there is an aspect of it's not just minis getting updated and sculpted, but rules have an aspect to play in this as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that's probably worth mentioning. As gamers, and I don't know who it was posted in the chat. Might have been Darren, might have been Limburger. I totally agree with you. Old miniatures can have real charm. I own tons of old metal fancy miniatures from the 90s.
Your squats.
I've still got my old squat collection. And yes, the plastic kits were terrible and the poses are fucking hysterical, but there's a charm and a character to those miniatures that will never not make me smile.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but I don't think I've got any right to expect a company to sort of like leave something untouched because it tweaks my nostalgic itch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything moves forward. Now, rules is completely different thing. Sometimes when these models get changed, they get new rules. I talked about Malifaux. They've released new sculpts of the Masters. They are not replacing the old models. The old models have their own cards. They have their own rules. They've just created a new version. A version 2 of that Master. Okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. I can choose as a customer, which box do I buy? Do I buy the
V1 or
new
V2?
one or the old one? And the models that go with it in the box. It's up to me. Games Workshop, we won't. I don't want to get too much into it because David and I have ranted about it for so long in so many different streams. Malifaux don't put rules in the box. You go to their website, you print them, you play them, or you go to their app and you run your game from within the app. Everything's there.
TT Web Builder, exactly the same principle.
Again, TT Combat do the same. Games Workshop have a specific issue where they print everything in paper. And the problem with that is they then can't change it without making people's books redundant. And I was watching a stream recently today actually, by the Honest Wargamer, and he was saying it about iOS. It's fucking ridiculous. Like David said, they track stats for iOS. Like, there are some factions in iOS where 65% of the models see no competitive play because they're shit. The rules of the models are shit. But the only lever that Games Workshop has is the points. Because it's the only thing that's sort of independent of the codex or the battle tome. So they just make it cheaper. And they make it cheaper. And they make it cheaper. And nobody takes it. Why? Because it's shit. It could be free.
To the bottom.
And nobody will take it because it's shit.
Well, again, you speak of
other
free.
companies.
Look what they did with Space Marines in 40k. Made all of the war gear options free.
Yeah, well, again, let's not get into it. Games Workshop have a specific issue because they are tied to paper assets that they charge good money for and earn an absolute king's ransom off. They can't update things easily. If Malifaux have a fucking broken master or a stat card that just is busted as fuck, they errata it, a new one goes up on the Google Drive next week, and the app changes on your next download from Google Play Store. Done. That model now has different rules.
And it's fixed.
I get this thing about people loving paper, and I get it that when you're of a specific generation that you don't want to engage with the technology particularly. I personally don't particularly like PDFs. I don't like apps. But that's why if you saw in the photos from our game on Club Night, I print my Malifaux cards off their website in massive A5 versions, put them inside pockets, and then use dry white markers instead of having little cards, because I'm 50 years old, I can't read the small text on a screen, and I prefer paper. It's a little bit of a speed bump. I have a colour laser printer and I can do it, but would I rather have a broken game or that? I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that than be stuck with something that's just no good for the game because we've printed it. So now we've got to live with it until we reprint it in 5 years or 3 years, whenever they fucking do.
When the edition changes or whatever.
Yeah, you've mentioned it before, Limburger. You like the aspect of the paper version where everything's locked in and it updates if you want it to change, but not if you don't. And I totally get that. Yeah. I mean, that is the dream. Yeah, no, you make a fair point, sir.
What's that?
You know, you could just get your fucking rules right the first time and not release broken shit. And to be fair, I don't want to give a wrong impression. In 2nd edition Malifaux, I don't know how many models and cards there were for that game, but I think 2 or 3 were changed over the whole lifetime of the edition. So I mean, let's not blow things out of proportion. Some companies have a absolutely ruthlessly tight grip on this shit, and it really needs to change.
Or you do a Steam Forged,
which
and you can't play with nice things anymore, so we're going to just take the game away from you.
God, you're so bitter about that every time.
It's a really good game. That's why I'm bitter about it.
It was a really good game. I mean,
that's my point. That's my fucking point, though.
Yeah, but to be fair, we can still play it, mate.
Yeah, but again, it's just annoying. I'd rather play a game that's live and living than something that it's like, oh, well, sorry, Joe Blogs, that also likes the look of this game, but you can't actually get like the rulebook for it or stuff anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll be honest, I have less hang-ups about that. But then again, I've seen many more games die than you. So there could be an element of I've become quite inured to
blasé to
it. Because it just happens, you know? And you know what? Don't panic. There's always a new game to play. There'll always be something else to play. So, yeah, changes in models. I mean, another thing to talk about is the cost to us as gamers. I mean, this is not. This isn't without its problems, because let's take Dante, right? Dante, there'll be all sorts of Blood Angel players that will be fielding some version of Dante. Like David said, it could be a custom sculpt that they've cobbled together from bits. It could be the original old model in metal. It might be the shitecast version. Okay.
Take your pick. It'll be some.
Okay, Tim. We'll see you next week, mate. Somebody put a timestamp as when he leaves.
Just chapter it for him at the hour mark, and when the chapter goes up, he can rewatch it.
What was I talking about? So, like, there will be people who own the old model or a different version of Dante. And those people might not want to have to spend 40 quid or whatever the fuck this model's going to cost to get the new sculpt. They might be perfectly happy with their version. And as long as there's absolutely nothing forcing them to update, such as...
Oh, but there will be.
Well,
because GW, there will be rules changes for him.
Which is exactly why I put there may be a downside to this, because this is where it comes back to rules, right? If the Primaris version of Dante is a separate model and entity from the Firstborn version of Dante, has a different profile, a different rules, different base size, different this, different that, and me as a player is then, oh well, if you want to play with the new profile, I'm afraid you will have to get the new miniature. It's like, no, hang on a minute, fuck off. You've sold me something once.
Choose me.
Okay, see you, Limburger. You know.
Yeah, you've either sold me something once or I've built something out of your bits.
Yeah.
Now, come on, lads.
Yeah,
sort your life out.
Doing that sort of thing, no. We shouldn't accept that. That is not acceptable. You know, if you should not be making models that I have maybe put hours of work into, particularly for something like a character model like Dante. People may have put many, many hours of paint work into it. You should not be making that car boot scrap with your actions. That is not fair. That's not fair on you customers. It's not fair on us at all. And the jury's out.
Words will be had.
Yeah, on what's going to happen with this. But I hope that if there is some sort of tension with these updates from GW, this primarisifying, is that a fucking word?
Primification.
Whatever. If there is some sort of like pressure on gamers to keep their models up to date, to get the best rules, then fuck off. No.
Well, again, we've already discussed this before on stream with fucking Warcry, with fucking Kill Team, with bloody what's it called? Underworlds. Of the buy new because it's broken.
Look, yeah, we have talked about that, but that's a different.
But this is what I'm saying, linking to this and your discussion of Dante. They've got prior for this.
Yeah, okay,
that's what
they
I'm
do
saying.
have prior. but what I'm saying is, it is bad enough. Exactly, Orinoco. At our club, if somebody wants to play with Dante, as long as they pay the points for the profile that they want to play with,
and it's on approximately the right size base,
I'm not going to make them.
I'm not going to 25mm for a 100mm model base.
Well, yeah, but I mean that is true. The model base on the new one is fucking ridiculous with that spastic plastic rock in it. I mean, does anybody think that this fucking flying by your toes is bullshit and that actually flight stands would be better? Because I'm getting sick of it. It's just bollocks.
Yeah, but the problem is GW had a shitty flight stand that they used in like the Piranhas and other stuff that kept breaking constantly. Then they upgraded it for the new Infiltrators for Primaris,
which was worse.
One, which was even worse. So therefore, they've now gone, right, anything that's flying needs to touch the ground because otherwise we're fucked.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is a multi-million-pound listed company with design engineers that can fucking manufacture...
Don't you come around these parts throwing design engineers around.
That can manufacture complex tooling for manufacturing hard plastics are incapable of engineering a flight stand that actually functions. Well, I say to you, fuck off bollocks. You know,
the problem
it's laziness.
Is because they're using acrylic. That's the problem. There's better materials out there that they could be using, and they're using acrylic or that equivalent material, and it just shatters. Polycarbonate as well shatters.
Look, use wire. Use fucking metal. Put brass wire in your. Put a length of brass wire in the fucking kit.
I will only play with jelly babies on bases, Ocarina, if I get to eat the bastard when I kill it.
A good flight stand is not hard to make.
No, Dan's point was it seems hard to make.
It seems hard to make, but it isn't hard to make.
How's your painting going this evening?
Mine, I've managed to get the highlights on the purple. I haven't done a lot else, but I have done something, and for that, I'm quite pleased. I'll put it on my turntable because we've eaten. We're 1:45. We've eaten up the time. Yeah. As I say, I think we've covered it. As I say, the pros, companies get to generate sales by making new models. They can revive old sculpts, maybe get people interested in things that look dated or that don't fit, because that's the other thing. As they're constant releasing new products, and I know Games Workshop do it to excess, but everybody releases new models, and as your manufacturing methods move on, your design aesthetic might become more sophisticated.
Even OPR did it with 3D printing.
Yeah.
They're like, this doesn't match our current design aesthetic and where we want to be at quality-wise.
The models look too simple. They look too soft. They haven't got the sharp precision details that we like anymore. Printers have come on. Our models need to come on. And they updated everything, and it's fine. It just is. As gamers, the only thing that we should not stand for is the thing we briefly touched on at the end, which is when this is done in a way to manipulate us to spend money where we need not spend it. In fairness, if Games Workshop releases, they've done it. Games Workshop released a ton of Necron models, Scorpec Destroyers, Wardens. I haven't got any of it. I already own a ton of Necrons. I'm not going to buy all the new Necron models. I don't want any more Necrons. All my Necrons are 7th edition and before. I don't want them. Don't need them. Thanks very much. It means that I'm not competitive anymore. I can't build competitive lists because all the cool models have got broken rules. All the new models have got broken rules, which is what David said about manufacturers manipulating the rule space to drive sales, which is utterly unethical and fucking inexcusable.
No, I will counter that with if it's done in an ethical way.
Yeah.
For example, TT or Malifaux, happy days. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
If it's done in a completely unethical way, i.e. the new shit is always the most broken, no, you can fuck off.
Yeah.
We're done here.
Again, it's cynical, and the thing is, I can't see a scenario. How would you not understand? It pisses people off. There are some aspects of our life where we accept redundancy. Okay, I do not own the same car as when I was 19. I accept that motor cars have moved on, and I was unlikely to make my Mark III Escort last 30 more years, however old it was when I was driving it then.
Your phone.
I'm fine. Exactly. My phone is not going to be. This is not going to be the last mobile phone I own before I die. fine, I get it. But my hobby is different. I have different expectations from things that I have collected, painted, assembled. Do you know what I mean?
Again,
Things that
most
I have put time and my own soul in to.
Well, I'm about to make a point here. Most people don't go out and repaint the fucking living room every 5 minutes because they're bored of the colour. Do you know what I mean? So, therefore, GW, treat it like a living room. It's somebody's pride and joy. They're living in it with it and they're happy with it. Yes, it's been 27 years and it could probably do with being dragged into the 21st century. But don't force them at gunpoint to go out and buy it because it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah. There are some things...
There.
It's like we just mentioned cars, phones, white goods. They have a defined lifetime. When they're done with, we will have to replace them. It's just life. Do not treat our hobby as that, with built-in obsolescence, if you like, because
actually we've kicked on GW quite a lot here.
Yeah, that's true.
Would I like to point out something that we have complimented them for historically?
Yep.
8th edition and the codexes and the indices.
Yep.
The fact that 8th came around and they went, yeah, no, this is a hard reset. So to make everything viable, we're going to release you an index. Now, yes, it was a paper product and yes, you had to pay for it and go out and buy it. But it led to actually some really fun gameplay. And then the power creep started because codexes started coming in. Do you know what I mean?
I know that you're having a dig at something that Games Workshop we've always had a dig at, but I don't.
I'm not digging at it. I'm saying like they actually handled that quite professionally, and went actually, yeah, no, this is too big of a change. We're going to have to release a stopgap.
To be fair though, mate, I don't. Was it 8 months? Probably Orinoco. The thing with the indexes was the question: how long did they last? They lasted for some armies as long as it took for their codex to come out. So there were some factions that were running off the index probably 18 months into 8.
2 years, yeah.
And were those armies competitive? Were they? Fuck. Because the 8th edition codexes were just smashing them in the face. You know, I mean, I watched another video on the back of this. Miniax opened up a whole conversation on YouTube. For anybody who's not looked into it, there's tons of video content, and some of it's actually quite good. There's loads of videos about his attack on AOS, for want of a better word, even though it wasn't an attack, it was a bit clickbaity. But a guy who was doing a response video I was watching, he's into sort of more competitive, edgy AOS, and he said he doesn't understand the whole Codex thing and Games Workshop edition thing. He doesn't understand why they don't go into development, develop all the codexes for a whole product range or a whole edition together, so that when you switch to that edition, they're ready for launch. And then when you launch them, you start that 2-year window to work on everything and don't update anything until the new edition.
Because, and I'll tell you why, it doesn't allow them to drip feed the marketplace with the cult of new every 5 minutes.
Well, you say that, but they could cut drip feed with tons of other things. They could release a codex that contains stats for models that don't exist and then drip feed the model releases. but at least the rules for them would be balanced.
True.
I mean, the main issue I can see is manufacturing, because you've either got and the other thing is leaks, because if they've got to keep secret all of that work for a period of 24 months, 36 months, I think in a company the size of them, with its international,
Audience.
documents passing backwards and forwards for translation and going through fuck knows whose hands, the problem they'd have is leaks. And if they had to keep it secret until the launch date, they'd never do it. There'd just be constant fucking leaks. Somebody would release a draft codex, it would get on the internet for one faction 6 months in, then it'll kick off a big conversation. The whole paper codex thing causes them more problems than it ever solves.
They should just move to digital.
Yeah. And I understand that there is pushback from some sectors of the community about digital, but it's just the way to do games of this complexity. When you've
Nothing
got
lasts 5 minutes with GW, does it? That's my
No.
point.
As I say, I don't really understand the fuss about the Dante thing. I think people should just be excited that there's a new sculpt for Dante. Let's not prejudge the rest of it. Companies do this all the time, and they do it for all sorts of reasons, mostly good and genuine reasons. And maybe GW are just refreshing a 26-year-old model that could do with a bit of love. Maybe. And there's no secret agenda or sinister nonsense. Anyway, that's what I've managed to get done.
I was going to say, should we see what I've got done as well in a second?
It's probably a little bit blurry. Happy with the skirt. Got the highlights on that. Haven't done much else, but we've been chatting some. So, what about you, mate?
Go down to my camera, mate.
Dum dum da 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 da.
So,
Ooh.
let me wash my brush out. We
Ladders.
airbrushed and then we decided to not
Ooh, I like
airbrush.
them.
Gets better because we've got all of the bamboos have at least had a coat on them or two.
Okay.
I've been going in with the paintbrush to tidy up a bit more because my compressor's overheating. And then like this one's had paint on this side but nothing on that side. So
Nice.
I'm going to, with these, I think, experiment with some oil washes.
How are you going to go with the details, like all the hanging skeletons? How is that terrain? Is it fussy? Or is it not too bad?
Shall we just take a look at this particular corner piece and show you how fussy it is? All the wraps, hanging skeletons, hanging skulls, hanging skeletons, and then all of these wraps and shit on the inside.
Why haven't you sprayed it on the inside?
Because my compressor's warm.
Oh, okay, fair.
And I don't want to cook it. And then the other thing we've done is that. So we've
I like
base
that colour. What is that?
rocks.
Is that a Vallejo one?
No, is it? Fuck.
It's a G-dub.
Wow. Flash. But for a base paint, it went on really well without actually fucking blocking up.
Yeah, it's a nice colour for... Because they're stone, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice base colour for stone. That's going to look really good. What's your idea? Greys for dry brushing?
No, I'm
to
going
give
do
it a
this.
mossy look.
Dry brush it with some Death World Forest.
Okay.
And then move more into, what's it called? Stone Grey from Vallejo.
And
What I'm probably gonna do
interesting.
is-
So you're putting greens, beiges, and greys. That should give you some really nice colour variants on that. Good call, Orinoco. Did you know that Vallejo do dip? Here we go. Da, da, da. Not that you've actually ever used it for dipping, have you?
No, I haven't. And I'm not a fan of it. But, hey,
Why are you not a fan of it? Because a period, or using it as a dip?
Using it as a dip, and also just not a fan of it, period. Because look at the terrain piece that we did at yours, and then the next time we did something, it went completely glossy.
But then, okay. So it does. Is it too dark? Shop. Does it cover too much?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does a bit. But yeah, that's my plan. And then,
is it water based or polyurethane or what?
Yeah, it's water based, I believe. And then my plan with these bad boys.
Are these what everybody keeps calling the meat trees?
Yeah, the meat trees. I'm going to probably airbrush the bone, airbrush the tree. Then we're going to go in and base coat all of the platforms with a brush because overspray central. But I don't know what colour to do these. I don't know whether to do like a charred brown or whether to do mid colour. I'm not entirely sure.
For what, mate?
The trees. So obviously my bone's going to be bone. I've got my bamboo.
What is it on? Is it like the back? It's the spinal column of some massive beast?
Yeah.
And what about your uprights on your bamboo stands? Oh, they're actually pieces of bamboo. The whole thing's bamboo.
Yeah, bamboo.
Why don't you try some sort of browny green? Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Darren. A dark brown with green notes in it.
Grey, green,
yeah,
brown. Try to think what colours I've got with that spectrum. But yeah, the trees are fine. They're a little bit egregious to play with because you catch them and then you move the entire table.
Because they've got spindly things on. Yeah, grey, green, Orinoco. Yeah. I think that's the way to go, mate. That's the way I'd go. Because he's got like yellowy bamboo and beige bone. You want to put that green, because you've got the green and grey in your stone on your other terrain pieces. It'll tie it all together.
Yeah. So nice. What, like green, grey, and then brown wash on them? What's the other number on it on Orinoco? Because we never use those numbers.
70.886. It'll be 70.830. Look at him, Jesus.
But no, I'm looking forward to getting some games in on this terrain because I think it's going to look pretty darn good when it's painted up. 101, 102. I shall bear that in mind for future Orinoco.
German field grey. And green grey. I think German field grey's a bloody good call, Orinoco. Because once you put the agrax on it to reinforce the shadows and the brown tones, that wowould be the killer. I think that's the one.
I think rather than using agrax, like I say, I'm going to go for a brown oil wash on the lot of it.
Yeah, well,
because then I'll be able to control it a bit
easy,
better.
Easy, yeah, whatever, mate.
I think everything's going to get base coated, a dry brush, then a wash, then a final dry brush.
Yeah,
I think.
Looking cool, mate. Good stuff.
I'm happy with it, and I do like Warcry, so we'll see how.
We have to do a campaign game of Warcry. I think it will be.
I'm getting on with my terrain, mate. So it's in the pipeline.
I better get my Cult of fiery people, whatever the bollocks it's called.
Flames of Scion.
That's it. Scions of the Flame. I'll have to get them painted so that we're ready to go. Right. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to us talk
Joining
bollocks
us
for the last 2 hours. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got some hobby done. We managed to scratch the surface of our massive hobby projects that we've always got on the go. If you can only find time to do one thing tonight, can you please like the video? Obviously, if you can do any of the other stuff, share, comment, subscribe, then please do. It's all greatly appreciated and helps to feed the YouTube algorithm. In terms of YouTube sharing us, we're very small, we're a niche channel, it doesn't do a great job. So below liking is share. I've put those things in that order deliberately in terms of what helps us. So if you can think of somebody who doesn't watch our shows but might get some value or some entertainment from them, share with them.
us entertaining. We had no technical difficulties.
We had hardly any, actually. That's jinxed it. So it's now, if my computer blows up and then I just disappear in a cloud of smoke, you know that. And I tell you what else, David got away with blue murder because we didn't have any salt shaker, did we?
No,
even though he got quite salty at times, you guys are going to have to, remind
Get
me.
me back in my box.
Paul, sort him out. Right. Okay, guys. We better go
Ciao.
and let you have a good evening. We'll see you next week.